So I have here in my yard a yucca plant that I planted recently. You can see some of the fibers already starting to fray, and we can use some of these later. If you don't have a knife handy, you don't have a sharp rock, you can always just come and try to harvest some of these. Yucca normally grows where it's dry, rocky. They don't like a lot of water, so that's why I have it planted up here on the top of a hill. You don't want to harvest from the middle of the plant. That'll cause undue stress on the plant. It's a slow growing plant, so you want to try to harvest from the outer edge of the plant if possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a couple of leaves here from the outer portion of the plant, and see what we can go ahead and turn this into. So now that I've got my yucca cut, I'll go ahead and try to separate the pulp and skin from these fibers, which the fibers are really what you want for making cordage. So to do that, I've got, I'm just going to use any hard surface will do. I'm going to go ahead and use just a stick that I've rounded off. You don't want to use the sharper end yet. It's going to be more for scraping. You want to use the softer end for actually smashing the fibers and trying to break this apart. So I'm just going to sit here and smash them. You can see how it's going to flatten it out, and already you can start seeing some of the fibers separating, which is really what you want. So this part of the process is going to take a while, and the beauty of having multiple together is that you can kind of speed up this process overall by smashing 3 or 4 more together. So just after a couple seconds, you can see I've got the skin and pulp starting to separate. The fibers really beginning to come out, and that's really what you want to see. So we're going to go ahead and just keep processing this for a few more minutes, probably to be another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and rinse off the fibers and start making some cordage. And now that I've got a lot of the fibers separated, I'm going to separate a little bit even more, but first I'm going to have to scrape off a lot of this extra skin and pulp. So what I'm going to do there is I've got my rough end of my stick that I was using to pound it, and I'm going to slowly, little by little, scrape off the excess stuff that I don't need. This part is going to be a little bit sticky. I'm going to have some of the fibers going to come out. It's normal. The main part here is just to scrape off parts you're going to need. If you find it's too sticky, you may want to go ahead and put it through some water, rinse it off. That's going to wash off a lot of the sap, pulp, and some of the tannins and saponins that are tangled into the fibers. So the beauty about yucca is, you know, I just took this in and washed this off a little bit. But the beauty about it is that yucca has natural soap in it. So as you're doing this, the soap just washes right off. It's sticky on the skin at first, but it washes right away. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like pine sap or other plants where it'll just sit there and stick. And as an added bonus, it washes the fibers and gets them nice and clean. So the next step that you want to do, if you have a comb, you can use a comb to heckle it. I'm just going to go ahead and use my log that I've been using, my stick, and just hit it a few times. What this is really doing is breaking up these fibers even more. It's going to have the consistency of horsehair or a paintbrush by the time you're done. So I've let my yucca plant dry out overnight. That's one of the things I have to take care of. But what you'll notice is that I have fibers pretty well separated. I do have some that are still stuck together, so we'll try to separate those. Otherwise it'll make the rope a little bit stiffer, or the cordage a little bit stiffer than what you actually want it to be. So we're going to go ahead and take this a little bit. There's no reason why I didn't process this. Just didn't take the time to process all the way to the end. You can process all the way in. There's nothing to stop you, but for the sake of the video, I did not. I'm going to cut that off. You can use that later for other projects. So go ahead and just cut these off here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is just grab a few of the fibers to get started. I'm going to go ahead and start about how thick you're going to make it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the longest strands. You really don't want the longest strands, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit thicker than my last batch that I did. Get some water and just drag the fibers through the water. So I have to go ahead and get them a little bit wet. The beauty about yucca is you want it to be a little bit wet when you process. You don't really want it dry. This will actually make it a little bit more durable, especially when it gets wet. When yucca fibers get wet, they gotta loosen up. Whenever they get dry, they shrink a little bit. So let's go ahead and take it. You're gonna do a reverse wrap. So with a reverse wrap, you're gonna start, twist one end towards you, one end away. Just like that. Just twist a little bit, and it will form a loop of its own. Now that you've started the reverse wrap, and again, you can see here it's already starting to form. What you're going to do is take the top and you're going to roll it away from you and pull it back to you. Roll away, back to you. It's going to take a little bit. There are other techniques you can use. You can use the leg wrap technique as well. But for this video, we're going to do the reverse wrap technique. So away and back, away and back, away and back. And you can see here, it's already starting to form. It's going to form the first little bit of your cord. And I'll go ahead and do this for a little bit. Way and back. What you're going to do is you start getting down toward the end, or when you start noticing that it's going to get a little bit different on size. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of set this down here. And grab a few more strands. Again, you want this to be about the same width as what you've been working with. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a few more. Alright. Just run through the water real quick. And you're going to go ahead and bind them in. So you're going to add them in by taking the thinner end, go on your thicker end. You want one end to be longer than the other. You're just going to lay this right across where you're working. Pick it up and go, roll it away from you, bring it back. And just like that, you've added in the additional fibers into your cordage. Just away and back, and you're going to continue adding fibers and twisting until you have the rope or the cordage at the desired length. All right. It's been about 20 minutes of working with the cordage, so now I'm just going to take off the end here. I'm going to pull it with just a simple overhand knot, and in about 20 minutes of work, 20 minutes of cordage making, there you go. That'll hold probably about good 10 to 12 pounds.